At Marlins Park in Miami, Florida, the New York Mets play the Miami Marlins. Tuesday night baseball is courtesy of Fios by Verizon. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Fios, the best way to watch your Mets all season long. Get the 100% fiber optic network at Fios.com. By Tri-State Buick, experience the new Buick for yourself at your nearest Buick dealer. And by Geico, over 75 years of savings and service. Well, the Mets continue their series in Miami tonight, home of Calle Ocho, Little Havana, right near Marlins Park. Roof will be closed tonight, couple of thunderstorms in the area, and it's always nice to meet the new owner. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Miami. I'm Gary Cohen. Ron Darling joins me in just a little while as the Mets play the Marlins. Mets go for their 7th straight win tonight. They're 8-1 on the season. No Met team has ever started the year 9-1. The Mets have gotten contributions from all over. They've had a change in culture with a new manager in Mickey Callaway, but part of that change in culture has come in the clubhouse as well. Third baseman Todd Frazier, one of the veterans that the Mets have added to the team this year, and Todd is standing by with Steve Gelbs on the field.
Yeah, thanks so much, Gary, and certainly Todd Frazier has been a big reason why this team is where they are so far. 8-1, no team in Mets history has gone 9-1 to start the season. For you, what's been the #1 factor that has led to this early success?
Well, now we got a little more pressure now. We got to get that 9-1. I think, you know, we're playing to win games. I think that's the bottom line. No matter what we're doing, no matter who's coming up, somebody's finding a way to win the game, whether it's pitching or it's hitting, and we're all coming together as a team. There's a lot of different guys here, and you know, for myself, I'm trying to get these guys going, but I think the factor is we want to win, and no matter how, no matter when, find a way to get the guy in, find a way to get the guy out, such as pitchers, and we win the game.
Todd, one of the most noticeable things we're seeing just when you talk about winning baseball is the way that you guys are running the bases, taking the extra base when a ball's in the dirt, really heading for the next base, second or third. For you, what is the key to doing that well, and what has this team been able to do so well early this season?
I think it starts early in spring. You know, you put the mindset out there. You know, we're going to work it. We want to be the best first and third team there is. And when I say that, ground ball to center field, left to right field, we want to try and find a way to get to third. I think one time this year, I think Adrian got thrown out at third. He was being aggressive, not overly aggressive. I think it was the right choice. But we get to third base, a sac fly can win a game. You know, a ground ball out to short. You know, you never know what can happen. You know, those things where you say you look back on it, you know, how did we win this game? Oh, it was the big hit at the end, but how about in the first, second, or third inning when we came up clutch, we got a guy over to second, got him in somehow. And that's our mindset. And I think it goes back when we were younger. We're trying to do the little things as great as possible, not good, but great. And that's accountability, too, as well.
You are such a big glue guy in the clubhouse. Is team chemistry something that happens organically, or is it something that you especially try and push and cultivate early on?
I think it's a little bit of both. I'm a guy, I'm a rah-rah guy. I try and get everybody excited before a game, whatever I have to do. I love talking to everybody. You know, we got a lot of Spanish guys. We got a lot of mixed cultures. So I try and get to know everybody, and, you know, this is probably the best team I've been on when it comes to people being together and trying to win as a unit, and it's been a lot of fun.
Todd, a lot of pressure. 9-1. No team's ever done.
Let's go, baby. Come on.
Gary, back to you.
Well, it's all been going right for the Mets so far in 2018. They'll try and keep it rolling tonight in Miami. It's the Mets and the Marlins from South Florida. All the action coming up on SNY. Superfan Sweepstakes, courtesy of Fios by Verizon. Visit sny.tv/Fios. Get to Citi Field Saturday night when the Mets take on the Milwaukee Brewers at 7:10 p.m. You can stay after the game and enjoy a fireworks show that will light up the Citi Field sky. That's this Saturday. For tickets, visit Mets.com/fireworks. Jacob deGrom makes his third start of the year, looking for his third victory of the season. He hasn't been at his dominant best yet, but he's been able to wiggle out of trouble, and isn't that the quintessential deGrom? He tries to make it 3 for 3 and get the Mets their 9th win in 10 tries tonight. Mets and Marlins first pitch coming right up. Against the left-hander. In fact, the Mets will face lefties tonight and tomorrow night, so Bruce and Gonzalez sit. First time Jay Bruce has been out of the lineup to start the season.
Conforto leading off against the left-hander Caleb Smith. Had a good first start, as you see his Toyota numbers. Only allowed a run in 5 1/3 innings against the Cubs.
Michael Conforto swings at the first pitch and fouls it back, and we're underway. By the way, the voice you just heard was Ron Darling's. We like to introduce our personnel before we get too very far along. That is Ron Darling.
I was honestly trying to see if we could do a whole game where I said nothing. I think that would be great.
I'm going to put a blue check mark next to you just to confirm that you really are who you say you are.
Don't do that. I'll get thrown out of here.
Conforto breaks his bat but finds a hole, and the Mets have a leadoff hit. At the expense of a piece of lumber, Conforto for the second straight night leads off the game with a base hit.
So Caleb Smith breaks the bat of Conforto with a good pitch, and not rewarded for it, but Conforto is.
Well, that extends Caleb Smith's streak of not having retired the side in order in any inning yet this season. Mets will try and jump this left-hander early. Pitched a little bit for the Yankees last year, but the Mets are seeing him for the first time. Cespedes in a slump right now, 1 for his last 17. That 1 was the game-winning hit in the 12th inning Sunday night. But he had another rough night last night, 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, and he attacks the first pitch fastball and fouls it off.
You know, it's interesting. We watch him every day. Cespedes has got a huge, powerful swing, but when he goes into these little lulls, it's because his swing becomes almost too big and too powerful, not under control.
Interesting that both Conforto and Cespedes attacked first pitch against Caleb Smith, who's really been struggling with walks early in the season. And Cespedes fouls it back. 6 walks in 3 innings in his last start in Philadelphia.
Threw 70 pitches in 3 innings and giving up 3 runs.
His 3rd start of the year. He actually pitched pretty well his first time out to a no decision. Picked up from the Yankees in November along with Garrett Cooper in a minor league deal that also involved international slot money. That's the esoterica.
That's right.
It's not the player to be named later anymore. It's the international slot money. 0-2 coming to Cespedes, and he fouls back the fastball. Nothing but fastballs early on from Caleb Smith.
You know, it's interesting when you watch a young pitcher who doesn't have a lot of experience, coming off his last start and a lot of walks, like you said, Gary, probably comes in with a game plan here to be very aggressive, and the Mets are trying to counter that.
Made 2 starts for the Yankees last year, 7 relief outings. Now his 3rd start this year, so his 5th career start tonight for Smith, who dominated in AAA last year. He went 9-1, 2.39 for the Yankees AAA team at Scranton. And he strikes out Cespedes for the first out of the night.
Well, he's got a good fastball. It really explodes when it gets to the plate. This one up and in, up middle maybe. Cespedes, but he threw it right by him.
So 1 out and 1 on. And now Wilmer Flores playing first base tonight against the left-hander, making his 3rd start of the year. Just 1 for 11 and looking for his first hit against a lefty, which has always been Wilmer's specialty. Conforto at first and 1 out. And Smith with the balk move and did not get called for it, and he almost got Conforto.
What they do, the left-handers, is that they will look at the runner, look away, and almost step to the plate, and that's what he did, and it fooled Conforto. The wild throw stopped it from being a pickoff.
Yeah, a little better throw, and he's got Conforto dead to rights. Boer did everything he could with the reverse spin to get the job done. There's the first off-speed pitch from Smith, and it's 1-0.
That's the closest move I've seen to Andy Pettit's old move, where he would look at the runner, look away, and almost look like he was stepping to home and throw to first.
Conforto getting his first look at him, maybe a little chasing now. And Wilmer went around on the half swing, and it's 1-1. You see the lifetime or the last season numbers for Wilmer. Picked up his hitting against right-handers, but has always specialized in hitting the lefties. We mentioned the Mets are seeing lefties tonight and tomorrow night. Arlene Garcia pitches for the Marlins tomorrow. And that's one of the reasons why the Mets made the player move that they did today. They needed an extra reliever because a lot of the guys in the bullpen right now are a little gassed, so they called up Corey Oswalt from AAA, and they sent down Brandon Nimmo. So they've got a longer bullpen and a shorter bench, and Nimmo, who's played so well, certainly did not deserve a demotion, but that's roster manipulation and what happens when guys have options. That's ripped down the left field line. Flores has a hit against a lefty now. Conforto digging for 3rd. Dietrich has to go all the way to the corner to get it, so Conforto's going to score easily on the double by Wilmer Flores, and the Mets have an instant 1-0 lead.
Well, fool me once, but you won't fool me twice. Wilmer swung through a fastball up in the strike zone. He got the same pitch, and he was ready for it. Fastball up and in, and the quickness of the bat of Flores is always evident against left-handed pitching.
And that ball stuck all the way in the deep corner, so no chance for the Marlins to even think about stopping Conforto from scoring. So 1-0 New York, first RBI of the season for Flores, and here's Todd Frazier, who was Steve's guest during our open tonight. Thanks to Todd for doing that interview, and I thought it was fascinating what he said about being a new player and providing leadership, whether you wait for it to happen organically or whether you push the envelope. And he said, well, it's a little bit of both. I mean, he's the guy who started the salt and pepper shaker thing and got the T-shirts for the players in the clubhouse. But you can't force that stuff too much.
Well, if you force it and you get off to an 8-1 start, that really helps.
It helps that Todd has an infectious personality.
Infectious, confident, you know. I could listen to that Jersey accent all day. It's fantastic.
You know, if the timing had been right, he would have been perfect for a cameo on The Sopranos.
Oh, yeah. I mean, anyone like me who's from Massachusetts appreciates the accents of all Americans.
Todd was 0 for 2 last night, but drew a pair of walks. He's walked 8 times already through the first 9 games of the season. That's something that started last year.
Well, we've seen this the last couple of days. You know, I'm trying to look at some of the strengths. You know, Real Muto's out, but Holiday has been very good at blocking balls in the dirt.
Now, Holiday's a veteran guy. They were catching Chad Wallach, the rookie, quite a bit early, but he didn't hit, and Holiday's a better defender. And so Don Mattingly increasingly has had Holiday in there. 3 infielders on the left side against Frazier. 2-2 coming from Smith, and it's up and away, and a full count.
You know, Gary, they've gotten off to such a slow start. Their starting pitcher, the ERA at over 6.60. So you go with the veteran catcher to try to, for lack of a better word, kind of nurse some of these young pitchers through some outs and innings.
Well, they really need to get Real Muto back, though, because he gives them stability behind the plate and, more important, another offensive piece as well. 3-2 coming to Frazier, and he fouls it away. It's interesting that a guy mid-career like Todd Frazier could increase his walk rate as much as he did last year, and it clearly has carried over to this season. He was known as a guy who chased a lot, and he's just not chasing as much.
Well, I think he felt early in his career that any ball he could hit out of the ballpark, that's the kind of power he has, but he's gotten a little better at knowing, you know, there's certain pitches that he can hit out of the ballpark. That's what he likes to swing at.
Still looking for his first home run as a Met. And he takes the slider inside for ball 4. And the Mets have 2 men on. First walk given up by Smith.
Defensively for the Marlins, you can see in the infield, very impressed by Brian Anderson in last night's game, and so far offensively. Rojas, Castro, and Bohr, of course. Dietrich, Brinson, and Lee. Brinson and Lee gives them tons of speed out in the outfield.
Brinson came off the bench last night, but he is a guy that the Marlins are expecting to be a linchpin among the players they picked up when they traded away their stars. Brinson just 23 years old. So the Mets already with a run home, 2 aboard for Asdrubal Cabrera, who has been as hot as anybody early in the season, hitting at .324, and goes after the first pitch fastball and fouls it back. And Asdrubal, as he did last year, off to a very hot start as a right-hand batter. He's 5 for 9 from this side of the plate.
We've seen from Brinson, we've seen the good fastball, we've seen the hard slider. We haven't seen anything change of pace, so the Mets hitters can concentrate on things with a little velocity to them.
Funny thing is, he was known as a fastball changeup pitcher coming up through the minors, and has had to work on that slider. Here's the changeup, and it misses, and it's 1-1.
Now most pitchers now, because they don't want to fan the glove, will start with the changeup grip. He starts with it behind his back. That way he can just neatly place it in his glove and change if he wants to go to the fastball or slider. It's just not knowing the book report on the team you're facing.
Well, it's like when they were holding Adrian Gonzalez on first base last night.
Don't get it. Keep telling me to have all the analytics.
1-1 to Cabrera, who's hit in 8 straight games. After being blanked opening day, he pops this one foul out in play. Well, with Bruce not in the starting lineup tonight, that leaves Cabrera and Cespedes as the two Mets who have started every game to date. You know that the game plan is to get all of these veteran players consistent rest across the season, but when you get off to this kind of a hot start and you're not playing every day early in the season with off days and snow outs and the like.
I thought something was up because I saw Jay Bruce was leaving the hotel at the same time I was leaving the hotel. So I figured he wasn't in there.
Well, he got here late, but he did some extra work today, which was interesting, especially coming on the day that Nimmo got sent down, because we talked last week about how Bruce hadn't taken any ground balls at first base during the spring, and maybe that would free up an opportunity for Nimmo or Lagares to play more. But today, Jay, for the first time this season, did do a little work around first base.
You know, I found out that he didn't take any in spring training because he just wanted, you know, Gonzalez was playing almost every inning trying to make the ball club and didn't want to, I don't know, litter the field with him taking ground balls too.
1-2 coming, and it's bounced foul. The other thing, Gary DeSarcina, the Mets bench coach, told one of the writers that remember Bruce had a little bit of a foot issue early in spring training, that had it not been for that they might have done some work with him around first base during the spring, but they were more concerned about keeping him off his feet and getting him ready for the season. In any event, it certainly enhances the flexibility of this roster if Jay can play some first base from time to time, even if it's only in a late game double switch kind of situation. 1-2 to Cabrera, foul back.
Well, the Mets are getting some good swings. You know, when you watch a pitcher, especially a young pitcher, face a veteran lineup, you're looking for, as you see Plawecki on deck, you're trying to look for some swings that are half-hearted or confused, and it hasn't happened so far. They've been almost on every fastball he's thrown.
Caleb Smith, 26 years old, from Huntsville, Texas, went to college in the same town, Huntsville, at Sam Houston State. Kind of like AJ Ramos, who grew up in Lubbock and went to Texas Tech, stayed home to go to school. And the changeup on the outside corner, and he gets Cabrera looking.
Home plate umpire DJ Rayburn is, to me, when one of the consistent umpires see this changeup away, it's a good pitch. Catches enough of the plate. I think Cabrera thought it was down.
There's the second strikeout for Smith. DJ Rayburn has the plate. Sam Holbrook is the crew chief. He's at first. Ryan Blakeney at second, and Jim Wolf, who had the plate last night, is at third.
It's a good crew in my estimation.
So 2 out and 2 on. Plawecki starting a second straight game. If you're keeping track now, this is 6 of 10 that Plawecki has started. And Smith starts him off speed, 0-1.
On base percentage has been outstanding for Plawecki, but he hasn't done a lot of damage with the bat yet. Nice 2-out knock.
'26th pitch of the inning for Smith, and he gets the fastball, and Plawecki fouls it back, 0-2.
Did you see how the veteran Holiday came up in his stance? He was going to throw that ball to second base, try to pick off Wilmer at second, who's getting a big secondary lead.
Carrying on a conversation with Starlin Castro.
As Castro's saying, you're lucky you fouled that back. We were going to pick you off.
Smith has already fanned 2 in the inning. And now 3 as he gets Plawecki and limits the damage. Mets get a run on the Wilmer Flores RBI double, and they'll hand that to Jacob deGrom when we come back.
Brinson in playing center field. Cameron Maben sitting for the second time in the last 3 games. Otherwise the same unit that went out there last night. And they'll face off against Jacob deGrom.
Well, the Land Rover numbers for his first 2 starts. He's only 4-4 against the Marlins in his career, but he's had some of his most iconic games against the Fish.
Derek Dietrich leading off, takes a strike. Dietrich had a big night last night. 3 for 4, was on base 4 times. 14 hits, tied for the National League lead at this early stage in the season. And he smacks one on the ground sharply, but right at Cabrera, and that's the first out.
Defense behind deGrom this evening. Plawecki catching again. Flores at first base. Frazier on the corners. Cabrera and Rosario up the middle, and how it changes against the left-handed pitching is Lagares starts in center field. Bruce out, and Conforto moves over to right.
Callaway basically said tonight that Lagares is going to start virtually every game against lefties. He's hit them well in the past, and you always love to have his defense out there. Here's Miguel Rojas, and he takes the pitch high.
It's funny how an ex-pitching coach really gets to like Lagares in the field a little more than others.
Yeah. Rojas 2 for 5 last night. Filling in at shortstop while JT Riddle rehabs from a shoulder problem. Riddle last year at that walk-off home run against the Mets.
Well, he gives them some great athleticism too. He's got great speed defensively and offensively.
And Rojas better suited to be a multi-positional guy. He flies one out to left field, pretty well hit, but Cespedes back in the gap and gets there for the second out. So 2 out and nobody on. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live at home, in the office, or on the go with MLB.tv. Your subscription allows you to watch live baseball on your favorite supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. So deGrom has made quick work of the first 2, and now will face Starlin Castro. Castro 1 for 5 last night, but he struck out 3 times, including striking out to end the game with the tying runs in scoring position against Jeurys Familia. Castro, the only major league ready piece that the Marlins got back in the trade of Giancarlo Stanton to the Yankees.
It's interesting, when Castro was traded here, he immediately wanted to be moved to another ball club because he saw what was happening for the Marlins. Then JT Realmuto came out and said he wanted to be traded also.
Well, for the moment, they're still here.
Yeah.
Castro fouls off the slider, and it's 1-2. Little floater into shallow right center, and that'll fall for a base hit. So Castro with a 2-out single. I think that's interesting, Ronnie. You know, we're in an era, as you watch this base hit from Castro, we're in an era where certain teams each year are not really trying to compete for a pennant, but playing more for down the road.
Yes.
And certainly the Marlins very firmly in that category. And if you're a veteran player in that situation, how are you supposed to handle it when basically your management is telling you we are not trying to win?
Well, you're supposed to handle it like a pro. You know, whatever team you're playing for, you're supposed to play your best. And you have to remember, when you're on teams like this, if they don't perform well, you will be moved before the 31st of July. So
Justin Bour off to a slow start in this season, but has good career numbers against deGrom. I guess that's the best answer, right? The better you play, the more attractive you are to another team, and the better chance there is that you get out of town.
There you go.
Bour 0 for 4 last night, 6 for 37 to start the year without a home run. And deGrom comes at his feet, and it's 2-1. Jake making his third start. Last time out in Washington on Thursday, allowed just one earned run over 6 innings, but had to be a bit of a magician to pull that off. Worked out of a bases loaded, nobody out jam his last inning. Topped on the ground past the mound. Who's going to get it? Cabrera barehands it. Wide throw. Flores stayed on the bag. Side retired. And I'm certain that the Marlins will look at this one and see where they want to challenge the call as to whether Flores stayed on the bag. Sam Holbrook, the first base umpire, said he did.
Well, first it was a great play by Cabrera to get to it. The throw across his body. And it didn't look pretty, but I think Wilmer kept his foot on the bag.
And he did. That is quite a play by Wilmer, who wasn't taking any chances, though. He came up looking to see where Castro was, just in case they called it the other way. But a fine play on both ends by Cabrera and Flores gets DeGrom through the first inning. 1-0 New York. Juan Lagares hits the first pitch of the second inning out to left center, and for the second straight night, a near collision in the Marlins outfield as Lewis Brinson able to make the catch away from Derek Dietrich.
Well, last night it was Maben and Lee. This time Brinson and Dietrich. And what you have to do on this ball, you have to have a much better communication. And Dietrich, who doesn't have a lot of experience, has to be going behind the center fielder, not on the same path. He should be a little behind, and it didn't even look like Brinson was saying enough. You got to say, I've got it 10 times in a row, as loud as you can say it.
Slashed down to third by DeGrom. Brian Anderson with the strong arm throws him out, and on just 3 pitches, Caleb Smith has the first 2 outs in the second.
I mean, imagine if Brinson was playing in a ballpark that were people in it. You know, I mean, you really have to be able to communicate on that outfield.
Well, Brinson is a gifted center fielder, and if you're Dietrich, you should be prepared to give way at all times. 2 out and nobody on. Here's Ahmed Rosario, who had a good night at the plate last night. 2 hits, including a double. He drove in a run, and he takes a strike. It was a really nice bounce back game for Ahmed after a rough night at the plate in D.C. on Sunday. And it's flied out to Brinson. No other traffic in the neighborhood. And he puts it away to retire the side. 6-pitch inning for Caleb Smith as the Mets go out 1-2-3. Still 1-0. downtown Miami buildings. There it is in all its terrestrial glory.
That's from the interstate that it takes to get the gate to this building. You just move a little slower than that shot.
Brian Anderson leads off for the Marlins. The rookie third baseman has looked good. 1 for 3 last night. Made a couple of nice defensive plays. Fouls one back, and it's 1-1. Anderson leading the Marlins with 9 runs batted in, hitting .289 in the early season. And DeGrom comes inside and drills him, and Anderson is aboard to start the home second.
Sometimes pitchers make mistakes because of a previous pitch. Remember the 0-2 pitch to Castro when he missed and it was a base hit? Well, this one he tried to make it be more in the inside part of the plate and hit Anderson. Great job by Anderson. That's how you do it, kids at home. You don't face it or try to just turn your body so it catches your arm or your back.
Now here's Lewis Brinson, the center fielder. And a slider from DeGrom to start him off. Brinson's a local kid. He grew up in Coral Springs. Started out in the Texas organization. They traded him to Milwaukee for Jonathan Lucroy, and then this past winter from Milwaukee to Miami for Christian Yelich. Still remains to be seen how much he's going to hit in the big leagues, but he certainly did hit in the minors. Batted .331 last year in AAA, but just .106 in his big league test with the Brewers last year, and he's gotten off to a slow start here.
I mean, you love to get these kinds of athletes in the game, but again, hitting is it's a skill that you can develop, but to me only to a point. You can't take a 200 hitter and make him a 300 hitter.
The unfortunate thing with Brinson last year is he had a couple of trials with the Brewers and didn't hit much. It would have been really essential for him to come up in September and get more playing time, but he had a hamstring injury in August that precluded him from being a September call-up, and so he missed out on that opportunity to gain a little more big league experience.
And he probably wouldn't have gotten in the lineup a lot because the Brewers were trying to make a run still in September.
And the other thing about the Brewers is they have other young outfield prospects. They just called up Brett Phillips.
That's right.
To join them this week, with Yelich going on the DL, as a matter of fact. Mets are going to see the Brewers this weekend. That's driven to right center, but over comes Lagares to pick it off for the first out. Brinson hit that ball hard, but Lagares equal to it, one away. So 1 out and 1 on. Now another rookie outfielder, Braxton Lee. Went 1 for 3 last night. So you got Brian Anderson, 24 years old. Lewis Brinson, 23 years old. Braxton Lee, 24 years old. Back to back to back in the batting order.
I mean, only the Phillies have a younger team, I think, right? En masse than the Marlins. Picayune, Mississippi.
Sounds more like a Louisiana thing.
That's right.
Maybe it's near the border.
Near the border, right?
And Lee lifts one out to left. Cespedes back a few strides. And that's the second out. Anderson back to first, 2 away. The road ahead brought to you by Tri-State GMC. One more game to go on this road trip tomorrow night. And then the Mets take Thursday off and begin a 6-game homestand Friday night against Milwaukee. 3 with the Brewers, 3 with the Nats, and then a long road trip to Atlanta, St. Louis, and San Diego. Here's the catcher, Brian Holiday, 1 for 3 last night. So this is the Marlins' 11th game, and Holiday is starting for the 6th time as they wait for JT Realmuto. Realmuto got hurt during spring training on a play at second base. He went diving back into the bag on a pickoff, and I think it was Gleyber Torres of the Yankees who fell on his back, and he suffered a bone bruise in his back. And as we've seen over the years, those bone bruises can take so much longer to heal than you expect. When Realmuto first got hurt, they figured it'd be a week. Well, it's already been more than a month, and he's not even close to coming back.
Mets know about bone bruises, right? Missed time.
I always go back to the Ike Davis injury. It was supposed to be no big deal.
Yeah.
Missed 5 months. Breaking ball hit right at the shortstop. Rosario gets the force play, and that retires the side. 2 good innings for Jacob deGrom and a 1-0 Met lead. Year 8-1. Here's the first 2 times. 1985, Jesse Orozco, Rafael Santana, Keith on the other end. 8-1. 2006, Billy Wagner strikes out Carlos Lee, and the Mets are 8-1. That's Paul Duca.
Who made that out for the Phillies in '86? Was that John Walkenfuss?
Was it?
I don't know. I think so.
I have to look that one up. So the Mets are trying to go someplace they've never been before. Both those 85 and 06 teams lost the next game to go to 8-2. So the Mets tonight trying to do something that no team in their 57-year franchise history has ever accomplished. Conforto had a broken bat hit and scored the only run of this game against Caleb Smith, and he takes a fastball in tight 1-1. Michael starting his 4th game. He's now had a hit in all 4. Playing right field tonight for the first time with Jay Bruce sitting out. And that fastball catches the plate. And with Lagares figuring to play both games tonight and tomorrow against the lefties, probably Conforto sits tomorrow. Did he go around? He did not. Jim Wolf with the call, 2-2. Caleb Smith, a 14th round draft pick by the Yankees in 2013. Had his first big league experience last year. This is very much a patched together Marlins rotation. Jose Urena had a good year last year. We saw him last night. Dan Straley was slotted to be their number 2 starter, but he's got some forearm issues and is on the disabled list.
Yeah, he won 10 games for them last year. A couple of seasons ago, Smith went through a little bit of turmoil. He was originally drafted by the Yankees, like you said, taken in the Rule 5 by the Milwaukee Brewers. Brewers then traded him to the Cubs. Cubs sent him back to the Yankees, and then the Yankees acquired him in November of last season.
Conforto down on strikes. That's 4 strikeouts for Caleb Smith. He's now retired 6 in a row. Verizon trivia question for tonight. This is an interesting one. Who is now the longest tenured Marlin on the active roster? So it doesn't include disabled list.
Yes, active roster is the key.
The longest tenured Marlin.
I got a clue, I think.
Here's Cespedes, who struck out his first time up. And he takes a strike. What do you think? Yeah, I think I know.
Yeah.
Cespedes laying off the changeup.
By the way, we asked this question about the Marlins about every 5 years, don't we?
Well, they have been a franchise that has gone through periodic purges. This is only their 26th season, and they have been like a yo-yo in terms of their successes and their dismantlings. They won the World Series title in 1997, stripped it down the next year. They won the World Series again in 2003. Again, they broke the team apart. They went out and spent a lot of money when they moved into this new ballpark, and then stripped it down the next year. Cespedes held the swing to the satisfaction of Sam Holbrook, and it's 2-2.
That's why hitters like the home plate umpire to ask the base umpire.
So you're right, Ronnie. It is definitely a question that has often been asked about this franchise. Cespedes pops one a mile high. Moore waiting for it to come down. And that's the second out. So after a shaky start by Caleb Smith, he has settled into something of a groove, retiring 7 in a row.
You know, you're trying to look for the positives here with this young ball club. This kid has a clue. He's got 3 good pitches. The changeup is probably, like you said, a pitch that was a strength for his, but hasn't been so far. But his breaking pitch has gotten better over the first 3 innings.
It's interesting when you look at his pitch usage. Last year, he used his changeup far more than his slider. So far this year, he's featured his slider far more than his changeup, as he has worked on that pitch to be an effective breaking ball for him. There was some thought that if he didn't develop that slider, then he might be better off in the bullpen, where he could get away with being a 2-pitch pitcher. Flores drove in the only run of this game with a double into the left field corner in the first. And Wilmer tries to lay off, and he did. 2-1.
It's almost like this second time through the lineup, he's really made a concerted effort to throw more sliders.
Well, he threw almost all fastballs early in that first inning and got burned with it. Wilmer fouls one off. Todd Frazier would be next. Two out and nobody on. 2-2 to Wilmer. And he smacks one the other way, falling fast. Lee, though, coming on to make the catch. Braxton Lee with a lot of speed in right field. Came in to deny Flores an opposite field hit. Mets go 1-2-3. Still 1-0 New York. struck out a batter, but look at that.
Oh, boy.
109 career starts in 47 of them. He's allowed no runs or 1 run.
You know, I did this for a living 1,000 years ago. It's hard for me to even fathom that number. That's almost 50%.
We'll face the pitcher Caleb Smith leading off in the 3rd. Now, it's hard to compare that number to earlier eras when starting pitchers were asked to pitch many more innings. But nonetheless, even if you're only going 6 innings to start, 47 out of 109 is pretty impressive.
Listen, he doesn't make the rules. Right. You know, the people that are in the offices make the rules. He only is excellent every time, almost every time he goes out there.
And he strikes out Smith on 3 pitches for his first punch out of the night. One out and nobody on, up to the top of the order for Derek Dietrich, who grounded out his first time up. I mean, you've got a few veterans in this lineup, right? Dietrich and Castro and Bohr, guys that the Mets have seen plenty of. But as a starting pitcher, when you face a lineup filled with guys that you've never faced before, which is really the whole second half of this Marlins lineup, how do you go about preparing for that?
I think most young hitters are almost always, you can put them in the same bucket, and that is once you get ahead of them, you expand the strike zone. They will swing the bat. You know, there's a few rare hitters that come up that have a great sense of the strike zone, and you have to be more careful with them. But most young hitters are just about the same. You know, Brinson and others, is that they've got real talent. If you make mistakes, just like any other major league hitter, they're going to hurt you. But once you get ahead of them, expand the strike zone because they want to swing the bat. You can rack up big strikeouts in games like this.
Sure. Dietrich able to lay off that curveball and get it to 2-2. Miguel Rojas waiting on deck. Big hop for Flores. Nice snow cone grab. 2 out.
Boy, that was a good play. I said it last night. I thought this infield is much bouncier than I've ever seen it. From coming here for what, 13 years. And nice play by Wilmer. Played it off to the side, but it caught some leather. Well, he really couldn't have played that in front of him. It would have been right at his head.
Made good reactions just to get that glove up there on that unusually high hop. So 2 out and nobody on. Here's Rojas. And the curveball from DeGrom in for a strike. Rojas fly to left his first time up.
You know, you've already seen it. And, you know, I've heard some of the defensive metrics. I still don't think the Mets are like an unbelievably great defensive team, but they're a solid team. You know, Cabrera's play in the first inning, that play by Flores in a game where pitch counts matter, those plays have to be made.
Well, it's an incredibly small sample size. It's only 9 games, but consider this. On ground balls against the Mets, last year the opponents hit 278. This year on ground balls, they're hitting 208.
Huge difference.
So it gives you an idea that the plays that are supposed to be made so far have been made.
And we saw a play in last night's ball game, the turning of the double play of Rosario to Cabrera to Gonzalez. That's a play that we didn't see made very much last year.
You know, you've got guys playing their positions for the most part. I mean, I know Wilmer has moved around a lot. Skimmed on the ground. Cabrera's got it. And the first 1-2-3 inning of the night for Jacob deGrom. We've played 3 in Miami, 1-0 New York. Thrown by a Mets pitcher during this road trip saves you 1% off select tickets to the upcoming homestand April 13th through the 18th. For more information, visit Mets.com/strikeouts. It was 37 coming into the night. DeGrom is at 1. That's 38%.
Very nice.
Rest of this game and tomorrow night to go. Todd Frazier walked his first time up. He was the last man to reach. Caleb Smith has retired 8 in a row since then. That's got their run in the first inning. A leadoff single by Conforto. Flores brought him home with a double. Frazier walked, and that's been it. Smith has settled in nicely. Behind, though, on Frazier, 2-0. And Todd takes the changeup away, 3-0. As Dribble Cabrera on deck, and then Kevin Plawecki against the 26-year-old left-hander. 3 infielders stacked on the left side against Frazier. And swinging 3-0, he pops one foul off the left side.
We've seen him swing 3-0 twice now in the last 2 days. It's interesting, you know, when you're watching young pitching, he threw a 2-0 changeup to go to 3-0. I know that Frazier has a lot of power. He hasn't shown it yet. But as a young pitcher, you want to go after a hitter. Your fastball's good enough. I think sometimes you give the hitter too much credit.
Well, it's certainly evident when you look at Caleb Smith's minor league versus major league numbers that thing that always happens to young pitchers has happened with him. As Frazier pops one up, Holiday tracking it. He had trouble with one last night. This time he's able to stay with it. Last night Holiday came right to that dugout opening, very near where he caught that ball, and let one elude him. This time he's able to wrestle it to a draw.
Well, that was almost a roof ball, by the way. And I think it would really serve third baseman Anderson to hustle in a little more and give Holiday some help. Not easy with all that catcher's gear. Ball's lost in that ceiling for a while, and then still makes the play.
At least the underside of the ceiling is dark, unlike some dome stadiums. There's Cabrera, who struck out looking his first time up. So 9 in a row now retired by Smith, as Cabrera fouls one off. Anyway, last year in AAA, Caleb Smith averaged 2.3 walks per 9 innings. In his big league career, 6.3. So, I mean, we see it all the time.
It's true.
And it's not because their command disappears. It's just a matter of giving the hitters too much respect, right?
That's definitely the issue. Now, that wasn't my issue. I walked people in AAA and brought it right to the big leagues.
Well, you also didn't spend much time in the minors.
No, my issue was I just had too much movement on the ball, so I had to start aiming it down the middle. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but that's how I did it. But you start facing guys like Cespedes, guys that you see on TV, and boy, this guy's quite a hitter. Instead of feeling that, hey, I'm here because my stuff's good enough to get big league hitters out.
One-two coming. He bounces that changeup 2-2. Well, Smith's first start of the year was a really good one against the Cubs. Worked into the 6th inning, gave up just 1 run. Had a rough one against the Phillies, and he's pitched better so far tonight. About to throw his 60th pitch. And Cabrera fouls it off the right side. And they're graphically represented, those 2 starts.
Still took him 100 pitches to get 16 outs, but much better with the 8 punch outs. It shows you that he's got good enough stuff to strike big league hitters out. So, you know, this is his chance, right, to show if he's a major league pitcher.
As Dribble hits it deep to left field, back goes Dietrich to the warning track at the wall. It's out of here. As Dribble Cabrera with his 2nd home run of the season. And the Mets have a 2-0 lead.
Well, that is a case where the game plan got the Marlins. Holiday called for that pitch up and in. Caleb Smith hit the exact target, and Cabrera made him pay. changeup away, and then he went fastball in, called by the catcher Holiday. And as good a fastball hitter as the Mets have, right? Cabrera?
Hit a home run Sunday night in Washington. Now he hits one from the right side of the plate.
There's the target. Up. And he hits that level. Absolutely hits the level and the glove. And Cabrera let him know.
Nice grab by the Met fan. Plawecki pops one up in foul ground. Moore comes over for a look, but that's in the crowd. Well, the Mets have not been hitting a ton of home runs early this season. It's their 9th home run in 10 games. But they certainly have the capability up and down this batting order to hit them out. Cabrera hitting from the right side of the plate. Just like last year, he just got off to an amazing start from this side. He's now 6 for 11 with a home run. That's hit hard. Nice grab by Anderson on a hop. And the throw across the diamond gets Plawecki 2 out.
I like this young man's defense. He's got nice hands, got a powerful arm, and there's one thing, no panic.
Right. I was going to say he's very quiet.
Yeah. A lot of young players, they get that ball, it's like a hot potato. They can't wait to get rid of it. He takes his time, regroups, fires a strike. Can't teach that.
Here's Juan Lagares. Fly down on the first pitch he saw in the 2nd inning. And takes a fastball for a strike. Lagares off to a good start at the plate with that fly ball out in the 2nd. 7 for 15 to start the year. Goes after the slider, and it's 0-2. If you missed it earlier, Brandon Nimmo sent down to Las Vegas before the game today to make room for an extra reliever, Corey Oswald. And that leaves Lagares as the lone backup outfielder. He goes down on 3 pitches. Smith has his 5th strikeout, but the Mets expand their lead on one big swing by Asdrubal Cabrera. 2nd in 3 games for Asdrubal. Nice grab. And he held his beer. Wow. It's hard to do. Jacob deGrom just 38 pitches over the first 3 innings. Faces Starlin Castro, is the only hit for the Marlins. And he takes a slider off the plate for ball 1. Castro, then Bohr and Anderson, 3, 4, and 5 in the Marlins batting order. Looks a little different than it once did. You know, we've talked a lot about all the players that the Marlins moved. Yelich and Ozuna and Stanton and Gordon. Their best 4 offensive players.
Right.
And obviously they're big stars and meant a lot. That's grounded through the hole, and Castro has his second hit of the night. Got on the curveball and pulled it through the hole, and Castro's 2 for 2. And sometimes it's hard to quantify what certain guys mean to teams. Here's a great stat. Stanton and Ozuna last year finished in the top 3 in the major leagues in RBIs.
Yeah.
Stanton led the majors, Ozuna was 3rd. The Marlins only finished 11th in runs scored. No team has ever had 2 guys in the top 3 in the majors and not been in the top 10 in runs scored. So you take those 2 guys, those giving that kind of incredible production in the middle of your order out, and basically you've forfeited your offense.
Yes, you have. Because your offense wasn't as good as you thought it was anyways, with all those talented players. So that's why you see the Marlins kind of fighting to put any points on the board. Now, that being said, Justin Bohr has the best chance against Jacob deGrom.
But he's alone as far as a power source in this lineup. I mean, you've got a couple of decent hitters around him. Castro's a guy who's going to hit 300 most of the time, and Brian Anderson looks like he's going to be a good player. But I mean, why should he see anything but breaking balls out of the strike zone like that when he's up, especially with a man on base?
Yeah, he's going to really have to watch this season about trying to get a few more walks and getting the pitches up in the strike zone, because if you're facing the Marlins right now and you have your wits about you as a pitcher, you're not going to let him beat you.
So 1 out and 1 on. Here's Anderson, who got hit in the arm by a pitch his first time up.
DeGrom's trying to get ahead with that slider here the first 4 innings, but he hasn't found the groove yet with it. And that is when, as a pitcher, you know when you release it out of your hand that it's a strike almost each and every time. It's not there yet.
Mickey Callaway was talking about this the other day, not necessarily in relation to deGrom, but pitchers in general needing to know the difference between that first pitch breaking ball for a strike versus the put away breaking ball. And sometimes it's hard for pitchers to do both.
Yeah, there's 2 different pitches, and I think in today's game where the nastiness of stuff, and what I mean is that everything is thrown with 90% more or more effort, that you're always trying to throw that nasty breaking ball. Corey Kluber is one of the best pitchers in the game because he has a slider he throws for a strike, and he has that he starts in the outside corner. That is always a ball. That's what makes him great.
A ball that results in strikes.
Yes.
2-1 to Anderson. Trying to dot that outside corner, but he missed with it, and now it's 3-1. Jake has not walked a batter tonight. He has hit 1, struck out 2.
It's a difficult choice here because you have a young hitter. You know that a slider will produce a ground ball, but you got to lead 2-0. So do you challenge him?
Castro at first and 1 out, and Anderson hooks one into left field for a base hit. So he came with another slider, and Anderson got it on 3-1, and now the Marlins have 2 men aboard.
Well, good hitting by Anderson, stays behind it. It wasn't the best breaking ball from deGrom, more like a cutter than a slider. And Anderson continues to impress.
Well, last night, Noah Syndergaard fairly cruised through the first 3 innings, low pitch count, and then all of a sudden things got sloggy for him in the 4th and 5th. And DeGrom, who threw just 38 pitches in the first 3 innings, has found a little trouble here in the 4th. Lewis Brinson up with 2 men on. Brinson hit the ball hard his first time up, lined out to Lagares in center field. And he goes after a first pitch slider, 0-1. So clearly a big part of DeGrom's game plan against these younger Marlins hitters is to throw him as many breaking balls as possible.
Yeah, get ahead with it and put him away with it.
Castro at second, Anderson at first, and 1 out. And that slider misses the plate, and it's 1-1.
You know, this is a real opportunity if you're DeGrom, because you're looking in your dugout. You have a real solid pitching coach, Braxton Leah, next, and you also have a pitching coach that groomed a Cy Young Award winner. You're like, maybe this guy takes me to the next level, if there is another level.
And how does that happen exactly?
Communication, ability to refine pitches. Listen, DeGrom stuff is A+, but sometimes there's just a little tweaking that can happen, especially with the breaking ball. You know, if you look at all the Cleveland pitchers, whether it's Kluber, great breaking ball, Carrasco's developed a great breaking ball, Clevenger is like DeGrom light now when you watch him pitch. You know, how does DeGrom get from 295 to about 2.5?
One-two. The curveball bounced foul. Well, I guess what you're asking is how does he go from being DeGrom, which is, you know, top 5 in the game, to being Max Scherzer.
That's right.
Right? That's what you're aspiring to be the best right-hander in the game.
He has the foundation of all that, and I'm talking about his ability to compete. He has all of that. So little mistakes, staying out of the beginnings, all of those things refined produce a Cy Young kind of year.
Off the end of the bat, down to Flores. He'll take the out at first as the runners move up 2 away. Castro to third, Anderson to second. And now Braxton Lee, who flied out to left his first time up. I think if he aspires to be Scherzer, I'm pretty sure he can beat Max in a foot race.
Yeah, he can steal a base.
I mean, Scherzer got his first last night, but I think if DeGrom set his mind to it, he could get half a dozen.
The Mets might have a heart attack, but yeah.
Davey Martinez told Scherzer he could, but he said, please be careful how you slide.
I stole 1 base in my career, and the only reason I stole it is because I wanted to have 1 stolen base in my career. It's the only reason I stole the base.
I can't believe you didn't steal more than 1 base.
I could have, but they just wouldn't allow you to run.
But you were used as a pinch runner.
Yeah, but they didn't like you running as far as stealing.
My favorite was when El Duque stole a base when he was like 43 years old.
Right. What an athlete he was.
One and one to Lee with 2 in scoring position and 2 out. And DeGrom attacks him with high fastball and doesn't get the call. It's 2-1.
So you never know what's going to happen within a game. Nice shot, the baseball there. But the elite pitchers, these are the outs that they get.
And it gets even 2-2.
2-1 changeup. And what I mean is that everyone has people on base with 2 outs, and the pitchers that aren't as good will give up a base hit in this circumstance. Not the good ones.
2-2 coming. And the curveball fouled at the plate.
And it almost sounds like a jinx, but certain pitchers just know how to pitch through these certain circumstances.
I think it's interesting that, like Syndergaard last night, we've seen DeGrom throw more curveballs than he has his first couple of starts. See how he attacks here on 2-2 against the rookie Braxton Lee. Curveball dribbled up the line, a foul ball. So the most strenuous inning so far for Jake. He's already thrown 22 pitches in this inning. Castro a leadoff single. He's at third. Anderson a single. He's at second with 2 out. 7th pitch of the at bat coming to Lee. He comes up and in, full count.
That's the pitch he wanted. He wanted to dot that inside corner with that good fastball. He's liked the changeup on the 3-2 pitch to lefties. Let's see what pitch he throws here.
Brian Holiday would be next. 3-2 to Lee. Curveball fouled off.
That smile was like, boy, I've run out of options here. I've thrown just about everything I have.
He's going to come back with a fastball here.
Yeah.
He? 9th pitch of the at bat. Fouls it off.
Changeup, Gary. And you're right. That has been kind of a theme with these hard-throwing Mets pitchers. We've seen a lot more breaking balls, especially early in the season, than we saw at any time last year.
Quite a battle here with the rookie Braxton Lee. Pitch number 10 upcoming. And he's equal to that one. Fouls off the slider. And we're still going.
Well, I can see why this kid won a batting crown in Double-A. He really has an idea up at the plate. Nice short stroke.
Hit .309 in the Southern League last year. Not a lot of power. But he has prolonged this at bat to an 11th pitch. 3-2. Got him looking. Side retired. Now 3 pitches earlier, that's what he was looking for. This time he dots that inside corner, and DeGrom finds his way through trouble in the 4th. Still 1-0 Mets.
Yeah, Dietrich Rojas. Yeah, there you go. The guy came over in a trade in 2007, I believe, maybe.
I think it's his 6th year now with the Marlins.
I wrote it down. No, Yunel Escobar trade in 2012.
Jacob deGrom leads off in the 5th inning. Still 2-0 New York. Jake grounded out his first time up, and he takes a strike. Ahmed Rosario on deck, then Michael Conforto for the Mets against Caleb Smith, who gave up a run in the 1st and a Wilmer Flores double. And then as Dribble Cabrera homered in the 4th. DeGrom takes a fastball for a strike, and quickly it's 0-2. Smith has struck out 5. And now 6 as he takes care of DeGrom for the first out in the 5th. Get reaction to Jacob DeGrom's game tonight and continuing opinion on the Mets' hot start to the season on Mets Blog, presented by Citi, featured on SNY.TV. There's Rosario, who flied to center his first time up. Each team with 3 hits so far tonight, but DeGrom able to pitch his way out of a tight spot in that last half inning with quite the marathon against the rookie left-hand hitter Braxton Lee.
Lee's got some talent. That was DeGrom had to throw him a perfect pitch, which he did 3-2, inside fastball for taking strike 3.
11 pitch slog, but he got it done. Rosario drills one to left, and that's going to go all the way back to the wall. Another extra base hit for Ahmed Rosario, who nearly ran over Justin Bour on his way from first to second. So Rosario has his second double in this series.
Breaking ball. Not an awful one, but Rosario jumped all over it. You know, this move is not without precedent. Addison Russell hitting the 9th spot for Joe Maddon's Cubs, the shortstop, and had a huge year. And Rosario's having a nice year so far out of that 9th slot himself.
So Rosario in scoring position with 1 out. Michael Conforto the batter, and we'll see if Rosario thinks about swiping third. He's not getting a very big lead. And as Conforto takes a strike, you got the third baseman playing way off the line. But you've also got the shortstop Rojas playing right behind Rosario.
It's hard to get a huge lead. You've got the left-handed hitters, so it gives Holiday, and we've seen he's got a good arm, a free run at the throw.
I want to know, though, if you're Brian Anderson and you're playing 25 feet off the line like that, as Conforto takes one the other way, he's got a base hit. Rosario would be waved home. Dietrich unleashes the throw to the plate on a hop, not in time. Conforto delivers a run with an opposite field single, and it's 3-0 Mets. Second hit of the night for Conforto, and Rosario speeds home.
Second hit of the night to left field by Conforto. I do not like a huge shift when it's lefty-lefty matchup. The left-handed hitter will stay on that ball a little longer, and the Mets are going to run on Dietrich all the time. You know, he's an infielder turned into an outfielder, does not have the great strength of arm. Good read by Rosario. Knew that was a base hit right off the bat.
So the Mets now with a 3-0 lead, and here's Cespedes trying to fight his way out of a slump now. I was going to ask about the third baseman on a play like that. You've got a guy who clearly has great speed at second base. You're playing 25 feet off the line, but you've got an important hitter at the plate. How early can you afford to give up your position in order to cover third if Rosario does run?
You really can't give it up. You have to play defense first and then get to the bag, which makes it almost impossible to catch the ball on the run and apply the tag.
So it's almost a situation in that kind of a shift, I would think, that even if Rosario can't get a big jump, he probably can steal the base without a throw.
They're kind of giving it to you, yes.
Made a moot point by Conforto's base hit, but something to keep in mind down the road.
It's interesting. Pat Ressler was talking to him. I wonder what he was talking to him about.
0-2 to Cespedes, and he goes down swinging again. So the strikeouts continue to mount for Cespedes. That's 19 strikeouts in his first 40 at bats, and the 7th strikeout of the night for Caleb Smith.
Again, they have been through this lull for Cespedes, challenging him with fastballs up and in.
Flores has hit the ball hard twice tonight, doubled and lined out. 1-1 to Wilmer. Fordo nearly got picked off in the first inning by Caleb Smith, so he's a little more wary now.
Yeah, that wasn't as good a move. That was more deliberate to first.
I would imagine that kind of thing is in the scouting report, but that until you see that lefty move, you can't really be ready.
Well, there's a catch-22 about it. You have to get off enough to see it. You know, so it doesn't do you any good to only be a couple steps off the bag. So you got to get off and get to see it once, and it almost caught Conforto.
I always go back to the League Championship Series in '99 when the Mets played the Braves. And Andrew Jones was so wary of Kenny Rogers' pickoff move that he little leagued it. He kept his foot on the bag the entire time. Never took a lead. I'd never seen that before or since. Fouls one back toward us. Final game of the road trip tomorrow night. Zack Wheeler makes his season debut. Zack's in the ballpark tonight. Happy to be back and understanding that even if he pitches well, he may not be back for long. Arlene Garcia will make his first start for the Marlins, the left-hander who we saw to the bullpen last year. I think Zack was a little shocked when he got sent down, but I think he understands the circumstances. The Mets signed Jason Vargas to have a spot in the rotation, and once Vargas is ready to go, he's going to get that opportunity. Now, how far down the road that is, I'm not sure, because Vargas still can't really catch the ball and field his position. Tyler Cloyd up in the Miami bullpen. Conforto gets set to run. 3-2 to Flores.
I mean, with the sparse crowd, did you hear Ruben Amaro? You can hear him yell back to the runner. There's Ruben.
It's a big piece of the first base coach's bailiwick. Wilmer smacks this one to right field, but again right at Lee, and that retires the side. Mets had a run on Conforto's RBI hit halfway through. 3-0 Mets. fifth. 8, 9, and 1 in the Marlins batting order. Brian Holiday leads off. And Tomas Talis has come out on deck to bat for the pitcher Smith. Holiday grounded into a fielder's choice his first time up. Grom coming off his hardest working inning in the fourth. Took him 27 pitches to negotiate the inning. Stranded 2 in scoring position. Holiday pops one a mile high in the middle of the infield. Frazier takes charge of it. 1 out. Well, you're very familiar with the concept of pitcher fastball velocity, but when hitters see a pitch, they don't necessarily see one 95-mile-an-hour fastball the same as another. So here are some terms that some of the analytics people use. Extension, which is how far in front of the rubber a pitcher releases the ball, and perceived velocity, which is attempts to make a measurement of how a hitter sees the pitch based on how far in front of the rubber it's thrown. And we'll show you some video in a moment to make that point. Here's Talis to pinch hit. Check it, it's Yadiel Rivera pinch hitting. They had Talis on deck, but they switched it up. Behind the bag, that's a fair ball, and Frazier can't make the play cleanly. And Rivera's aboard with an infield hit. Frazier thought it might have been a foul ball. Jim Wolf called it fair. That's not a reviewable play.
Yeah, I thought it was a foul ball too. The problem is that umpire sometimes gets shaded out by the player. To me, that was a foul ball. Now I have a good angle right here from the booth.
So it's an infield hit for Rivera. The 4th hit against DeGrom. And here's Dietrich, who's 0 for 2, twice as grounded out to the right side. And he finds the hole on the right side this time. Rivera pulls in at second, and Dietrich, who had 3 hits last night, has his first hit tonight. And again, the Marlins have something working here in the 5th.
So watch DeGrom. Here's the extension, 7.1 feet velocity, 94.9. Perceived velocity, 95.7. What does that mean exactly? This is what it means simply. That you could throw a ball that's below 95 miles an hour, but it reacts like it's almost 96 miles an hour because the hitter does not have as much time to react, because DeGrom does not let go of the ball till 7.1 feet in front of the rubber. So they only have a short time to pick up the ball, even though it might be going slower than the perception.
So instead of seeing the pitch for 60 feet, the hitter's seeing it for 53 feet.
53 feet, exactly.
And that is the best extension of any starting pitcher in the majors last year. And not coincidentally, as we just showed in that graphic a moment ago, Jake had the highest percentage of swings and misses on fastballs of any qualified starter last year. Rojas grounds one up toward the hole, off the glove of Frazier, trickling into the outfield. That'll bring home Rivera. All the way to third goes Dietrich. So 3 straight hits for the Marlins. That one tipping off the end of Frazier's glove. Rojas drives on the run and cuts the Mets' lead to 3-1.
Well, you're trying to get the ground ball here to turn 2. He gets the ground ball, but it just eludes Frazier. Frazier didn't touch that. He would have got a force play at second because Rosario was there waiting for the ball. But you don't know that if you're Frazier. You're just trying to get everything. And that's Dietrich, the back runner, going first to third. Hustling young unit of the Marlins.
So 3 straight ground balls, all of which result in base hits. The opposite of what we were talking about earlier. And now here's Castro with the tying runs on base. He's already 2 for 2. He skies this one to right center, not very deep. It's going to be Conforto to make the catch, tagging Dietrich. The throw to the plate is offline and misses the cutoff man, and that enables Rojas, the tying run, to go to second base. It's now 3-2. Sacrifice fly for Castro to bring in the second run of the inning.
Well, it's one of the few defensive plays where the Mets have not been on point. Conforto's deep enough in this outfield that once Castro gets it out there, I know he takes the ball away from Lagares in center field. That's shocking to begin with. But second, you have, and I'm talking about have to, 100% of the time, hit the cutoff man to keep the force in order. Dietrich's got enough speed. You're not going to throw him out at home.
I mean, that is Conforto's ball.
Yeah.
But there would have been enough time for Lagares to get in position and get behind it. Bohr pulls one down the line, and that goes just foul. He came that close to tying the game.
It would have given him enough time, and reputation alone might stop a runner from third base from advancing. Probably not, but you never know.
I mean, Conforto has a good arm and generally an accurate arm, although that was not an accurate throw. But Lagares is in a different class. Justin Bohr is 0 for 2 tonight. And he drives this one deep to left. Back goes Cespedes to the track. It's over his head and it's out of here. Justin Bohr with his first home run of the year, an opposite field 2-run homer, and just like that, the Marlins have gone in front 4-3. Sculpture has been ignited.
Well, it hasn't been a lot to cheer about for these young Marlins, but Bohr, who's had a lot of success against DeGrom in the past, gets him again.
So 3 ground ball hits, a sacrifice fly, and then Bohr, who we talked about earlier, the real lone power source in that Marlins lineup, jumps all over this.
3 ground ball hits. One of them might have been foul, and this fastball up and out over the strike zone. And it shows you how much power Bohr has to go the opposite way. Boy, it's almost a little bit like Syndergaard's game. The Marlins kept it close, but never able to get that big hit. And watch the reaction from DeGrom, just hoping it stays in play, and it did not.
The home run ball was the only crimp in Jake's season last year. That's the first home run he's given up this season. First time the Mets have allowed more than 2 runs in an inning this season. The first season in Mets history where they went more than 8 games into a season without giving up a 3-run inning, but the Marlins have struck for 4. 3-1 to Anderson, and that's inside, and so the inning continues. First walk given up by DeGrom, and boy, it is eerily similar to Syndergaard's night. 3 easy innings, and then all of a sudden things just get difficult that second and third time around.
And it just shows you how hard it is sometimes to get outs. You said it, simply 3 ground balls. I thought one of them was foul, in fact, and the only person really who can hurt you with a long ball in the lineup gets you.
Well, DeGrom threw just 38 pitches over the first 3 innings, threw 27 in the 4th inning, and 26 more so far here in the 5th. And now he'll face Lewis Brinson with a runner aboard and 2 out. Brinson is lined to center field and grounded to first, 0 for 2. These runs belong to Caleb Smith, who gave up 3 runs over 5 innings, left for a pinch hitter, and now is the recipient of the lead. Brinson goes after that slider, 0-1. DeGrom has certainly picked on Brinson's vulnerability.
I mean, I haven't seen him enough, but you know, when you look at Brinson, he's got a groove to his swing. You know, if you kind of hit where he's swinging, he's going to hit it a long way.
Adrisamir Despaigne getting ready to pitch the 6th inning, and DeGrom takes care of Brinson on 3 pitches to end the inning, but not before the Marlins put up a 4 spot. They scratch out 2, and then Justin Bour unloads. His first home run of the year, coming in his 40th at bat. And that puts Miami up 4-3 as we go to the 6th at Marlins Park. Todd Frazier leading off the 6th inning. Usually 2 guys have to fall down in the outfield for Zimmerman to get a triple. Mets down a run. Adrisamir Despaigne on in relief for the Marlins as we start the 6th.
See his numbers so far. He's a guy that's got about 8 or 9 different pitches.
First saw him as a starter in San Diego a few years back. Caleb Smith went 5 innings, allowed 3 runs, 5 hits, a walk, 7 strikeouts, a home run. And the Marlins have given him a lead to enjoy in the clubhouse. Frazier takes a fastball for a strike, 2-2. Todd has walked and fouled out tonight, 0 for 1. Mets 3 runs, 5 hits. The Marlins 4 runs, 7 hits. Cabrera on deck, Plawecki behind him. And the Marlins bullpen staying active. 2-2. A little hesitation by Despaigne, and Frazier fouls it off. Chris O'Grady, the only left-hander in that Miami bullpen. Pitcher spot is due up 5th in the inning, and the Mets have a very heavy left-handed bench. Paul Sewald, who has been a missing person, is up. That's driven toward right center field, headed toward the gap. That's going to land and go to the wall. Frazier taking one the other way. He'll pull in at second base with a leadoff double. Fourth double of the year for Todd Frazier as the Mets start back.
Well, Frazier, nice hitting. We've seen him go the opposite way a lot more than I'm accustomed watching him hit. And he splits the outfielders here for a double.
So the Mets get the tying run into scoring position with nobody out. Talked about it a lot in Washington. The Mets, when the other team scores, responding immediately. They did it time after time in that series. They're trying to do it here in the sixth. Cabrera homered his last time up. That was as a right-hand batter. Now he turns around to the left side against Espana and takes off the plate for ball one. Cabrera's now hit in 9 straight games. He got blanked on opening day. He's hit in every game since. Met fans vocalizing. Knocked down by Holiday, 2-0. So Espana, a guy who will throw the kitchen sink at you, has fallen behind each of his first 2 hitters. Goes after the breaking ball. 2-1. Kevin Plawecki on deck. Espana with the not quite Fernando Rodney cap tilt. Cabrera flies one out to left. And Dietrich is there. Tagging at second is Frazier. He's going to try it. Here comes the throw by Dietrich. Anderson can't get the tag down. And Frazier very aggressively gets the tying run to third base. Well, we've been talking about it for the first 10 games of the season, how aggressive the Mets have been on the bases. There's another example.
You know, but intelligently aggressive. They know they can run on the arm of infielder turned outfielder Dietrich, and Frazier took advantage. Not only is the ball deep, but it's also running away toward the line on Dietrich, which brings him closer to third base, but not really in a position to throw the ball accurately.
Marlins will bring their infield in with the tying run at third and 1 out. Kevin Plawecki, the batter, is 0 for 2 tonight. And he takes below the knees for ball 1. But let's be honest, when's the last time you saw a guy on a fly ball to left field that doesn't even get to the warning track go from second to third?
Very rarely, but you know what you like about the Mets? Frazier knew exactly what he was going to do. And I bet you if he got about a third of the way and that throw was a little stronger than he thought, he might have stopped in his tracks and gone back.
Good block by Holiday to keep Frazier at third. I think he shocked Dietrich. He was back on his heels when he caught that ball and didn't have to.
Listen, Dietrich is just happy to catch the ball. You know, he hasn't played enough games in the outfield. Can't expect much more.
Well, it's also the Mets pushing the pedal, which they've been doing repeatedly. Team playing with great confidence right now. Plawecki grounds one foul. So Espana has faced 3 hitters falling behind 2-0 on all 3. Thing the Mets have not been great at this year is getting a runner home from third with less than 2 out. Only 42%, which is well below average. Plawecki trying to pick up that tying run here. And that one in the dirt. 3-1.
Espana is from the school of not really challenging hitters, trying to get hitters to get themselves out. What I mean by that is throwing a lot of pitches around the periphery of the strike zone, hoping you fish.
Lagares on deck. 3-1 to Plawecki. And that's ball 4. Came with a 3-1 slider, and that'll enable the Marlins infield to drop back and hope for a double play, although you got Lagares, a speedy guy at the plate, but a guy who hits a lot of ground balls and does tend to ground into double plays. Juan tonight is 0 for 2. He struck out his last time up after flying out in the second.
Just like we saw the other night in Washington with Adrian Gonzalez, Lagares has got to be ready here. Despaigne has been behind every single hitter. Be ready for a strike first pitch.
Jacob deGrom has come out on deck. Lagares first pitch swinging, flies it to right center. Brinson over, tagging is Frazier. He'll try to score. Brinson's throw is up the line, and the Mets have tied the game. Plawecki thought about advancing, but he goes back to first. So just like that, after the Marlins take the lead, the Mets respond in kind. Some great base running by Todd Frazier as he comes home on 2 fly balls to tie the game at 4.
Outstanding by Lagares, ready to swing first pitch. Brinson, you can see, has some tools, but they're not refined yet. Plawecki, if he could have got back to tag up, he could have advanced too. But good hitting by Juan Lagares.
He saw that ball bouncing around briefly. He thought about going, but then slammed on the brakes. So now he stays at first with a tie-breaking run. deGrom will take the turn, and he takes up and away for ball 1.
Watch Plawecki. This ball was going to be caught the second it was in the air, so he should have went back earlier than this, and he would have been able to advance. Thought about it.
deGrom has grounded out and struck out tonight, 0 for 2. He goes after the high fastball, 1-1.
The reason you want to tag up there is you have to remember how the defensive placement goes. Bohr has to go for the cutoff man, so you are alone at first base. You can go as far as you want before retreating if you see the throw is a good one.
And a fastball strike to deGrom, 1-2. Well, that trip around the bases for Todd Frazier just epitomizes the way this team has been playing. Not trying to hit a home run, driving the ball to the opposite field gap, and coming home on 2 medium fly balls.
Then I do have to say, before we saw them in spring training, I can't say my first thought is that they were going to be a less than athletic ball club that hit a lot of home runs, and that's how they were going to score with some good pitching. They've proven me wrong here in the early going.
Back to the mound. Despaigne knocks it down but does not field it cleanly. Gets the out at first, and that retires the side. Mets get the tying run home. It's 4-4 in the 6th. just one big party, Ronnie.
Oh, that's my signature move. The elbow on the bongo right before you go back. That's a signature move for me.
Mets have gotten back even for Jacob deGrom as he goes back out to the mound for the bottom of the 6th. And gets ahead on Braxton Lee 0-2. Lee has flied out and struck out. Marlins scoring 4 times in the 5th inning to take the lead. Mets getting it back even. And now the lower third of the order against deGrom. One-two coming. And the breaking ball in the dirt, 2-2.
Well, the way the game is played now for a starting pitcher, that you know if you're deGrom, this is your last inning. As Jacob Rame gets loose in the bullpen, but you want to make through it, get through it unscathed, give your team a chance to score you some runs.
2-2. Struck him out. Just the 5th strikeout of the night for deGrom. 1 down in the 6th. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Cash for Life from the New York Lottery. You could win $1,000 a day for life. By Tri Honda, hurry to your local Tri Honda dealer for great deals on all models. And by the NFL Experience, a live action football attraction located in Times Square. Brian Holiday, who's 0 for 2. And he takes a curveball for a strike. A no-hitter alert in, of all places, Camden Yards, where Aaron Sanchez of the Blue Jays has held the Orioles without a hit for 7 innings. And his pitch count is low. So he might get a crack at it.
Well, if you're going to pitch in Camden Yards, April this year is the time to pitch there. I mean, it's
there and everywhere else in the Northeast.
Yeah, entire eastern seaboard is mired in 30-degree weather.
Tomas Talise on deck to pinch hit. 0-2 to Holiday. He is away. And deGrom got out of trouble in the 4th. Could not avoid it in the 5th. Drew Steckenrider up in the Marlins bullpen. And change up down 2-2. Holiday grounds one slowly. Frazier with the bare hand play. Low throw handled by Flores. 2 out.
Frazier is showing us that this is a play he handles pretty easily, although he caught that one in his fingertips, and maybe that's why the low throw. Watch when he handles it. To me, it looks like he catches it on the very end. Yeah, he has to shift it back into his palm on the run.
Well, we were treated for a decade to a third baseman who makes that bare hand play as well as anybody in David Wright. And it's always a joy to see a third baseman who really understands the position the way Frazier does. Tomas Talise pinch hitting. Talise was out on deck to pinch hit in the last inning, but they sent up Yadiel Rivera instead, and Rivera got the infield hit that sparked that 4-run inning for Miami. Talise pinch hit last night and drew a walk. And a 2-0 curveball for a strike. A lot of curveballs from deGrom tonight. Approaching 100 pitches, and the Mets getting the bullpen hot.
2 in a row. That is some big league pitching.
Two to Talise. And he fouls it away. Let's check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Ronnie, you were talking today and yesterday about how this infield feels and looks a little bouncier to you. Well, it turns out you have a pretty good eye. I did some investigating. There was a monster truck show right before the season started, so the grounds crew had to resod the entire infield, and the way it was described to me is that right now it's probably a little fluffier than normal.
Fluffier?
Fluffier.
That's what I got.
Hey, it's not your choice of words. Thanks, Steve, for asking about that. Monster trucks, haven't made one of those yet.
I'm just glad we got fluffier into the broadcast. Last night it was dirtball Reed. Tonight it's fluffy infield. Pitch number 101 coming up for DeGrom. That's what he threw in his first start against the Cardinals. And he strikes out to Lease on the high fastball. So DeGrom probably ending his night with a flourish. His 6th strikeout sets him down 1-2-3, 4-4 going to the 7th. The RBI is distributed. The home run for Cabrera. And the Mets 4-4 as we go to the 7th. Drew Steckenrider into pitch for Miami against Ahmed Rosario.
Steckenrider from Georgia went to the University of Tennessee, drafted by the Miami Marlins. Then he underwent Tommy John surgery, made it up to the major leagues last season.
He's been really good so far. Jacob DeGrom, 6 innings, had the one bad one, gave up 4 runs in the 5th, but bounced back to get the side in order in the 6th. His work undoubtedly done for the night. And Rosario takes a fastball for a strike. Rosario doubled into left field his last time up and scored a run. Michael Conforto on deck. Yoenis Cespedes behind him. Steckenrider's yet to allow a run this season. And Rosario goes around with a half swing for strike 3. So a strikeout starts the top of the 7th. Tonight's starters brought to you by People's United Bank. Caleb Smith hung in there for 5. Jacob DeGrom threw 6.
Kind of the same starts for the Marlins, right? From Urania and Smith. 3 innings, 3 runs in 5 innings.
1 out and nobody on for Michael Conforto, who has singled twice. He's driven on a run. He's scored a run. Steckenrider came up last year, pitched in 37 games, and put up some really good numbers for the Marlins. They've got some nice pieces in that bullpen. Steckenrider may be a future closer. Got that good changeup, and he had Conforto out in front 0-2.
His limited action, he had the best ERA in the pen last year.
And he takes care of Conforto on 3 pitches. Back-to-back strikeouts for Steckenrider to start the 7th. Let's check in with the studio for a game break. Doug Williams is there. Doug? Yoenis Cespedes bats with 2 out and nobody on. Cespedes 0 for 3 tonight, 1 for his last 20. And Steckenrider pours in a fastball for a strike. The Marlins have got some relief pitchers with some names that fill out the uniform.
Yeah, haven't they? Barraclaw, Steckenrider,
Despaigne. And quickly 0-2 on Cespedes. Jacob Rame getting ready in the Mets bullpen. Fresh off his first big league save Sunday night. One-two coming, and Cespedes chases for strike 3, and Steckenrider strikes out the side in the 7th inning. Stretch time, tied at 4.
Game as Jacob Rame, 1 run given up in 3 games.
Derek Dietrich leads off and fouls off the first pitch. Well, Jacob got that 1 batter in a 1-run game on Saturday, and then with the Mets having exhausted all other possibilities, he got a save opportunity in the 12th inning on Sunday and handled it well. Gets ahead on Dietrich 0-2. He has possession of that game ball from his save Sunday. It's in a sock in his locker. destined to soon belong to Jacob's dad back in Texas.
Nice.
Grounded to the right side. Cabrera to his left. The spinorama. High throw. Flores can't get it. And Dietrich safe at first base. Cabrera was a little slow getting to that ball, which made it a harder throw, and he could not get it on target. And Dietrich is on to start the bottom of the 7th.
Well, he really had to judge which angle to get it, and he picked the deeper angle, which made it a very tight throw at first base. And it had to be right on the money to get Dietrich at first, and lucky for Dietrich and Wilmer that there was not a collision.
Not a Lorenzo Cain, Jose Martinez meeting at first base.
That's right.
Last night, Cain stepped on the back of Martinez's foot, and they both came out of the game. Cain hurt his quad, and Martinez a bruised Achilles. Call strike to Miguel Rojas, 0-1. So Rame has to deal with a leadoff base runner. They score that a base hit for Dietrich, his 2nd of the night and his 5th in this series. Marlins had 9 hits last night, and they have 8 hits tonight.
Yep, out hit the Mets last night too, didn't they?
Rojas singled off Frazier's glove to drive in a run in the 5th inning. That was the first of the 4 the Marlins scored in that inning.
No chance for Wilmer to get that high throw. A nice backup by Plawecki.
So many things can happen there. You had Dietrich going awkwardly, flying into the bag, and then nearly crashing into Flores. Rojas with the bunt. And the play goes to first. And that moves the go-ahead run to second. 1-4 on the sacrifice. I would have to bet that Rojas was doing that on his own.
You think so? I was thinking to myself that Mattingly gave him 1 pitch to hit and then was going to bunt. But you definitely could be right. But I'm just thinking from the manager's perspective, it's hard for him to generate any kind of offense trying to push a run across.
You might be right. I just think these days managers are so discouraged from bunting any earlier than, say, the 9th inning.
That's right.
Starlin Castro's had a good night, 2 hits and a sacrifice fly.
They just have, they have a unique team here,
right.
Being so young that you might have to do stuff that's out of the box. Well, it used to be in the box. Now it's out of the box.
Castro gets one in the air to center. Back goes Lagares. He's got it lined up. Tagging at second is Dietrich. He'll go over to third. And that's the 2nd out. So the go-ahead run at third with 2 out. Let's try again to check in with the studio. Doug Williams, I believe, has a game break. And they're leaving him in the bottom of the 8th.
What?
Can you believe that? Justin Bour flies another one deep to left. Cespedes back on the track at the wall, and it's out of here. Justin Bour has done it again. His 2nd opposite field 2-1 homer of the night, and the Marlins are back in front 6-4. Well, we've talked all series about how Bour is the lone power threat in this Marlins lineup. He beat DeGrom in the 5th inning, and he does the same to Rame here in the 7th.
Well, in the first 13 innings of this series, they were throwing things down and sliders down and in. He's now caught 2 straight fastballs up and away, one from DeGrom and one here from Rame, and he didn't miss either.
So the Marlins are back in front 6-4. Here's Brian Anderson banging one up the middle, and he's got his 2nd hit of the night. Anderson on base for the 4th straight time.
Fastball up and away.
So Bour goes opposite field for the 2nd time. That'll end Rame's tenure in the game. Mets will go to their bullpen and bring in Paul Sewald. Called to the bullpen, brought to you by Verizon. 6-4 Miami in the bottom of the 7th. We'll be right back. Given the Marlins the lead. Paul Sewald comes on to pitch to Lewis Brinson, and his first pitch slider is down for ball one.
Sewald hasn't pitched since April Fool's Day when he went 2 innings.
Only his second appearance of the season after being heavily used upon his call up last year. Anderson at first with 2 out, and Brinson hits the comebacker. Sewald makes the play to retire the side, but Boer's second 2-run homer of the night has put the Marlins back in front. 6-4 Miami as we go to the 8th. Mets will have Zack Wheeler making his season debut. 6:30 the coverage tomorrow right here on SNY. Kyle Barraclough on to pitch the 8th for the Marlins.
Boy, he had a Houdini act in last night's game. One thing we've noticed to go along with that hard fastball and great slider is he showed an exceptional changeup in last night's game.
Worked out of a bases loaded jam by striking out Cespedes and Bruce in the 7th inning. Now he comes on to the 8th to try to protect a 2-run lead. It's Flores, Frazier, and Cabrera coming up. Wilmer's hit the ball hard 3 times in a row. He doubled back in the first to drive in a run. Twice is lined out to right field. Now facing a right-hander for the first time tonight. And he takes a slider from Barraclough for a strike. Drissomer, Despaigne, and Drew Steckenrider each worked a scoreless inning in relief for Miami. Steckenrider now pitcher of record on the long side. And Wilmer flies one to deep left field. Back goes Dietrich, back to the track near the wall. It's out of here. Wilmer Flores cuts the Marlins lead in half. His first home run of the season. And now it's 6-5 Miami.
Well, we showed a graphic earlier. 11 home runs against right-handed pitching last year for Wilmer. And he gets a fastball in, and he shows again that he has one of the quickest bats on the ball club. A double off a fastball in, and his first at bat, now a home run.
First run that Barraclough's given up this season. Fan throws the ball back. Ball boy has to go retrieve it. Mets have hit 2 home runs tonight. Cabrera and now Flores. 6-5 Miami, and now it's Todd Frazier. And he takes a fastball for a strike.
So Wilmer's really been coast to coast. 2 balls to left field, 2 to right field, all hit on the nose, and this one over the fence.
I might mention that Barraclough has been particularly difficult to hit home runs against.
Barraclough knew right away.
Coming into tonight, in 166 innings in his career, he had allowed only 7 home runs. That's an incredibly low home run rate. But Wilmer got him. And he gets the slider in for a strike to Frazier, 1-2. Well, Todd was responsible for the tying run in the 6th inning. He doubled to right center, scored on 2 fly balls, and now he's up with his team down a run in the 8th. And he takes strike 3 called. The changeup got him looking for the first out. It's the pitch that Barraclough unveiled last night, and it was very effective for him in getting out of trouble.
Does the ball catch the inside corner of the plate? Yes, it does.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Cabrera, who homered as a right-hand batter back in the 4th inning. He's 1 for 3 on the night, and they put on the full shift against him. Just missed. 2-0. Cabrera hasn't had much luck against Barraclough. Just 1 for 10 against him. Hansel Robles and the newcomer Corey Oswalt up in the Mets bullpen. Oswalt just arrived today, replacing Brandon Nimmo on the roster. Mets have a lot of guys in that bullpen who are a little gassed. Remember, Seth Lugo worked 3 innings on Sunday night. 3 straight days for A.J. Ramos, 3 straight days for Jerry Blevins. So they felt they needed the extra bullpen arm, and that's why Oswalt is here, and who knows, maybe he gets the call. 3-0 to Cabrera. And he swings and drives one deep right field. Back goes Lee at the wall. It's out of here! As Dribble Cabrera ties the game with his 2nd home run of the night. Cabrera homers from both sides of the plate. He jumps Barraclough on 3-0 and puts one on the 2nd deck to get the Mets even again.
Again, another one of those themes for this ball club is that they are not afraid to swing 3-0. Got about a half dozen players in that lineup who do damage 3-0.
So against a guy who never gives up home runs, the Mets have hit 2 of them in a span of 3 batters. And they've gotten even again.
This is the farthest homer I've seen Cabrera hit as a Met. I mean, upper tank.
7th career multi-home run game. His 3rd of the year. Plawecki grounds one out to short. And Rojas guns him down for the 2nd out.
3-0. As a pitcher, you think you got a green light to throw a strike, and splits the plate down the middle, and Cabrera didn't miss it. Don Mattingly watching on. That's how Mattingly used to hit him. Whoa.
I don't remember if Donnie was a 3-0 guy.
No, I don't think he was.
Juan Lagares, the batter, drove in a run with a sacrifice fly to get the Mets even in the 6th inning. Mets were up 3-0. The Marlins scored 4 in the 5th, including Bohr's 2-run homer to go up 4-3. Mets tied in the 6th. Bohr hit another 2-run homer in the 7th. But the Mets have homered twice here in the 8th. Flores and Cabrera. 2nd of the night for Cabrera to get even. Two and one Lagares. Pitcher spot due up next. Jay Bruce is in the on deck circle. Mets have plenty of left-handed bench tonight with Bruce and Gonzalez both getting the night off.
You know, they're already this bullpen into their 57th inning of work in the first 11 games for these Marlins. And Barraclough last night, you and I watched it. I mean, it took a lot of work for him to get through that inning.
25 pitches last night, and almost all of them under stress. 2-2 to Lagares. And Juan pulls one on the ground right at Rojas. Side retired, but not before the Mets get even with a couple of long balls. Wilmer Flores with his 1st of the year to get the Mets close. And then as Dribble Cabrera on 3-0 launches his 2nd of the night into the upper deck. 6-6 as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Giants and Jets as the draft approaches, plus discussion about Jacob deGrom fared tonight on Daily News Live, presented by Citi. Tomorrow at 5 p.m. only on SNY. Wilmer Flores, first home run of the year. As Drupal Cabrera, second home run of the night. And so the Mets have come from behind for a second time to get even. Hansel Robles will try and keep it there in the bottom of the 8th.
Robles pitched the 7th inning last night, gave up a couple of hits before retiring the side on a strikeout.
They'll get the lower third of the order for Miami, and this is one of the things that this coaching staff, Mickey Callaway, Dave Island, have been very conscious of. What part of the batting order particular relievers get to face. And so Robles gets 7, 8, and 9. Braxton Lee is 0 for 3, a fly ball and 2 strikeouts. And he bluffs a bunt and takes ball 1. Lee with a lot of speed, and Frazier came crashing in at the side of that feigned bunt, and he'll stay in on the grass.
To me, sometimes a lot of this stuff is just semantics. It used to be, let's put our people in the right position to succeed, and now it's become scripting relievers for certain spots.
As opposed to specific innings.
That's right.
Which is the way it has gone for so long. A fastball from Robles gets Lee to chase, and it's 1-2. Well, last night, Jerry's Familia got his 5th save in the Mets' first 9 games of the year. No Met pitcher had ever done that before. I would assume that Familia is available tonight. Got the 5 outs on Saturday, and then got Sunday off. So you would figure that he's good to go for a second night in a row. It'll be interesting, though, if the Mets, if it's still a tie game going to the bottom of the 9th, is Callaway a guy who will use his closer on the road in a tie game? Most say you shouldn't. Lee down on strikes for the 3rd time tonight. Robles fans the first man to face him, 1 away.
They've really overpowered Lee with the fastball tonight.
So 1 out now. Brian Holiday, who's gone 0 for 3. Cameron Maben is out on deck to pinch hit, with the pitcher's spot due up next. Mets 6 runs, 8 hits. The Marlins 6 runs and 10 hits. And the slider off the plate for ball 1. Here's your game summary. 2 home runs apiece for Cabrera and Bohr. Jacob deGrom had the 1 bad inning in the 5th. Jacob Rame gave up Bohr's 2nd home run in the 7th. But the Mets got him off the hook. And Robles misses the corner, and it's 2-0. So here is a great note from our friend Dave Freed, who actually is paying attention to our broadcast when he's not getting paid, which is, I think, really unique.
I didn't even know he paid attention when he was getting paid.
That's an excellent point that you make. But it's about Cabrera and that home run that he just hit. Dave says that Cabrera in his career, before that at bat, had only put 1 ball in play on a 3-0 count. Only 1. And he made an out.
Wow.
It's only the 2nd fair ball he's ever hit on 3-0, and he hit one on the upper deck.
Dave, only kidding. You know you're one of the best. Good note.
That's how he earns his non-pay.
That's right. He'll ask for something.
Well, Barraclough obviously had Dave Freed's stats in front of him, knew that Cabrera had rarely put a ball in play on 3-0 and threw it right down the middle.
Don't worry, Kyle. He never swings 3-0.
Now he does. 2-2 to Holiday. And the breaking ball hit down the left field line, hooking toward the corner. That ball is out of here. Oh, no, it's off the wall. It's in play. And Holiday pulls into second with a double. Ball ducked into the corner there and hit that padding.
Well, the hard part is you kind of lose it in that sign when the ball is coming down, but just missed by 3 or 4 feet for Holiday.
So Holiday with a 1-out double, barely missed the go-ahead home run, and now Cameron Maben will be the pinch hitter. Holiday's first extra base hit of the season, and so Robles has trouble to deal with in the bottom of the 8th. And he overpowers Maben on the first pitch. Maben started last night, went 0 for 4. And Maben lines one to left. Cespedes coming on and makes the catch for the second out. So 2 hard hit balls in a row against Robles. But Maben retired, 2 away. And that leaves it up to Derek Dietrich with the go-ahead run at second and 2 out.
He's really been the thorn in the side for the Mets for the last 2 days.
Would you consider walking him and pitching to Rojas?
I would definitely pitch very carefully to him.
Dietrich has a couple of hits tonight, 5 hits already in this series. And it skips in. Plawecki got enough of it to keep the runner at second base. And now the Mets are going to walk Dietrich intentionally after ball 1. They're not going to mess around. And they'll face Rojas instead.
It's a good move. You know, if you'd gotten ahead, then maybe you could try to get him to swing at a bad pitch. But now that you're behind, he doesn't want to take a chance on Robles challenging Dietrich.
So 2 on and 2 out. Now Rojas, who had a ton of hits against the Mets last year. He had 375 against Met pitching last season. And he's up in a big spot here with 2 out and 2 on in the 8th. Rojas 4 for 11 against Robles. Had a run scoring hit in the 5th. And the slider off the plate from Hansel, ball 1. Robles, who began the year in the minor leagues, being trusted with a high leverage spot here in the 8th.
Mets have 3 good arms in the outfield.
Holiday not a fast runner at second, carrying that go-ahead run, and Rojas fouls one back this way. 1-1.
Well, Cespedes, of course, as good as arm as there is of any left fielder in baseball. Lagares probably a great arm and probably one of the most accurate of any center fielder. And Conforto can throw it too.
We saw Holiday last night not score from second on a base hit to left field. Slapped down to first, a foul ball, and now it's 1-2 to Rojas.
This is one of those circumstances. If there's a base hit, Freddie Gonzalez has to send Holiday. Don't really have anyone unless you use the pitcher to run for Holiday, because Chad Wallach is the last person left. Catcher.
Corey Oswalt still throwing in the Mets bullpen. 1-2 to Rojas. Struck him out. Hansel Robles finds his way through trouble in the bottom of the 8th. Mets pitch around Dietrich, and Robles fans Rojas. submariner will come on to pitch the 9th inning.
Well, he's given up 4 runs in his 4 2/3 innings of work. That's why the high ERA for the veteran Ziegler.
Jay Bruce will pinch hit leading off for the Mets in the 9th inning. And Ziegler's first pitch comes right back to him. 1 pitch and 1 out. Also Robles, after extricating himself from trouble. Couple of emphatic notes from Dave Island.
It's like, be nice and slow with that delivery. Don't do that quick delivery.
Ahmed Rosario takes a strike from Ziegler. That's a fastball, by the way, 83 miles an hour.
That's what makes him fun to watch, isn't it? A lot of different ways to get people out.
Right before the first pitch to Rosario, Anderson moved all the way over to the line at third base.
Yeah, which you have to with Ziegler throwing the way he throws.
Teases him with a breaking ball, and Rosario laid off 1 and 2.
I found it funny on the comebacker from Bruce that he threw the ball overhanded to first.
Well, I'm sure he grew up throwing
he can do it.
overhand.
Yeah, he can do it.
1-2. Like we used to worry about R.A. Dickey throwing a knuckleball to first base.
That's right. That's
Michael Conforto on deck. 2-2 to Rosario. Bounce slowly. Anderson charging. And his throw is dropped by Bohr, and safe at first is Rosario. Well, the throw moved Bohr around at the bag. Was he still on the bag?
Well, it wasn't an awful throw. A little better footwork, and he could have came towards the ball, caught it, and then swept the tag against Rosario. Just kind of slow foot movement there by Bohr.
They're going to charge an error on the throw by Anderson. You know, Anderson was handling that ball like it was a routine play, and maybe at the last moment realized, heck, we got Rosario running out to rush the throw, and that might have contributed to the throwing error. In any event, the Mets have the lead run aboard with 1 out, and Conforto at the plate. And the fastball outside for ball 1.
Whenever a right-handed hitter hits a ball like that to third base, and he did have plenty of time, they are out in front. So that means they've got an advantage 2 or 3 steps towards first base. It's always going to be a quicker play at first.
First error of the game for either side. Conforto has 2 hits tonight. He's driven in a run. He's scored a run. Cespedes on deck. Coming up tonight, Geico Sports Night at 11 o'clock. Much more on the Mets and Marlins. Rangers done. And the bus has dropped by.
Nice.
Didn't know the bus stopped at the SNY studio. Plenty of subway lines.
Well, we got those new studios now. A lot of people show up there.
See the shift against Conforto is 1 for 3 in his career against Ziegler. Changeup misses. 2-1. Rosario has yet to steal a base this year. He's attempted 1. Seven out of 10 last year as a rookie. And Conforto takes just off the plate, and it's 3-1.
Oh, it was a good layoff by Conforto. That's a ball you can only pound into the ground. Got to wait for Ziegler to get the ball up just a bit.
Another guy who's very tough to hit home runs against. His career home run rate even lower than Barraclough's. 3-1 coming. And that's on the inside corner, 3-2.
Boy, good pitch. Everything away, away, away. And when he got behind in the count, he hit that corner, inside corner.
Jerry's Familia getting ready for a possible save opportunity if the Mets can push a run across. I mean, you got to send Rosario here, right?
Yes. Been playing aggressive all year. Don't stop now.
Anderson flips over to the right side with 2 strikes. 3-2 with 1 out. Rosario runs. Conforto takes ball 4, and the Mets have 2 men on. Catcher Holiday, as soon as ball 4 was called and he made that throw, broke for third base to make sure that Rosario couldn't pull a Daniel Murphy play.
That's right.
And sneak an extra base. Never forget that play in Game 5 against the Dodgers.
Murphy, that play. Didn't Johnny Damon pull it against the Yankees too in a postseason game?
Well, Cespedes mired in a deep slump right now. In this series, he's 0 for 7 with 0 for 8 with 6 strikeouts. But looking to get that go-ahead run home in the 9th inning. His only hit in his last 21 at-bats was a game-winning hit in the 12th inning Sunday night. So maybe he's got another one in him.
You know what might help him here, Gary? We were talking about and documenting the fastball 95 plus has been beating him. Certainly Ziegler does not have that in his arsenal.
That's with great speed at second and with Rosario. And Cespedes pulls one down to third, past Anderson and down the line, and the Mets take the lead. Rosario is in. Conforto being waved home. The throw to the plate not in time. Cespedes all the way to third, and the Mets lead at 8-6. Cespedes comes through again in the crucials, sneaking it by Anderson and down the line to drive home a pair.
Well, it started with an error by Anderson, and this ball down the line, he tries to backhand it, couldn't get in front of it, and the ball beat him. And Conforto, interesting watching him score. He went to third, but then he started to break it down a little bit. Oh, we're not going to see it.
Play to the plate, and Holiday tags out Cespedes for the second out. So that's a 6-2 putout.
Watch Conforto when he's coming to third. He starts to break it down a little bit. And then Sherlock waved him through, and he scored the second run.
Yeah, Glenn was waving him all the way, but
I thought he broke it down more than it looked like, so I'm wrong.
I think he just didn't have a good angle.
Maybe that's
the bag at third.
Reshuffled his feet.
Cespedes gets credit for a 2-run double, takes third on the throw. He's thrown out at the plate on the fielder's choice for the second out. Flores now at first with 2 away, and Todd Frazier the batter. Frazier 1 for 3. And that's behind him and goes to the backstop, and Flores to second base. A very wild pitch by Ziegler.
He's trying to throw a slider, and the ball just never came out of his hand correctly. Tough start to the season for Brad Ziegler.
So the Mets with 2 in the 8th to tie on a pair of long balls, and taking advantage of the 1-out error to play a couple of runs in the 9th to take the lead. And now Frazier fouls it off, 1-1.
It's funny though, huh? Cespedes struggling against the real hard and fastball up. Ziegler does not have that, below 90 miles an hour, and he's able to pull that ball down the line.
Familia getting ready for another save chance. They'll be facing 3, 4, and 5 in the Marlins batting order. Castro, Bohr, and Anderson. Bohr has already hit 2 two-run homers tonight. Certainly behooved the Mets to get another run here. Frazier with a big hack, and it's 1-2. Well, Cespedes just 2 hits in his last 22 at-bats, and they've both been go-ahead hits in the 12th inning Sunday and now in the 9th inning tonight. Frazier pulls one foul. 1-2 coming. Chop to Rojas. He guns down Frazier, side retired, but Yoenis Cespedes' 2-run double has put the Mets in front. Now Familia with another save chance as the Mets go for their 7th in a row. Verizon. Just visit SNY.TV or download the NBC Sports app today for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. Drive around the majors brought to you by Audi. Some great pitching performances tonight. Aaron Sanchez took a no-hitter into the 8th. Blue Jays beat the Orioles. Steven Strasburg 8 terrific innings as the Nats beat the Braves, and Aaron Nola 8 strong innings in the Phillies win over the Reds. And now Jeurys Familia trying for his 6th save in the first 10 games of the season. Starlin Castro leads off and takes inside for ball 1.
Castro was the last batter that Familia faced in last night's ball game. Got him on a slider for the strikeout.
Well, the way Justin Bour is going tonight, this is an enormous batter for Familia. Bour has already hit a pair of 2-run homers tonight. He's on deck. And Familia quickly behind 2-0. Justin Bour did not have a home run this season before the 5th inning tonight, but he took DeGrom deep in the 5th, did the same against Rame in the 7th. Familia last night gave up a single and a double, but stranded the tying runs in scoring position by striking out Castro. And he comes to the inside corner with a fastball, 2-1. Hansel Robles worked out of trouble in the 8th. He's in line for the victory. Familia, the 5th Met pitcher of the night. And Castro grounds one down to third. Nice range by Frazier, and he throws him out, one away. A big batter retired by Familia. Nice play by Frazier going to his left.
Nice range by Frazier. Almost a snow cone here right in the end of the glove. But he was the only one who's going to be able to make a play on it. And just enough from the veteran third baseman to make that play.
That's why you wear the big glove at third base.
The Robin Ventura glove.
Well, that means that Bour, no matter what he does, can't tie the game. He has gone the other way for a pair of 2-run homers his last 2 at-bats.
Well, these are the two locations, one off the Grom for the 2-run home run to left field, at almost the same spot, maybe a touch higher off Jacob Rame.
So you might want to keep the ball down?
Yes, you would.
And Bohr takes a slider for a strike, 1-1. Bohr is 3 for 4 against Familia without a home run. And that rides inside, 2-1. Brian Anderson waiting on deck. No Met pitcher before had ever had 5 saves in the first 9 games of a season. So it stands to reason that none has had 6 in the first 10, which is what Familia is trying to accomplish tonight. And now he's behind on Bohr, 3-1. Anderson, who's had a very good night at the plate, waiting to follow. Marlins have been very pesky in these first 2 games. They've had a couple of leads tonight, but Familia trying to make a Mets lead stand up in the 9th. And he gets the strike to Bohr, 3-2.
You're right about that. The Marlins have given the Mets everything they can handle.
Has been ever thus.
Yes, yeah.
One out and nobody on, 3-2 to Bohr. And he just got a piece of that slider to stay in there. They're getting a lot of work early in the season, as has this entire Mets bullpen. They've been tremendous, but they certainly have been taxed to a large extent. Eventually, Mickey Callaway and Dave Island hope to get more innings from their starters. They got 6 from DeGrom tonight. Rames, Sewald, Robles, and now Familia have followed. Again, the 3-2. Strike 3 call. 2-man down.
I've always thought of DJ Rayburn, a home plate umpire, a pitcher's umpire, and that ball right across the knees. Catches enough of the plate.
That's a perfect pitch.
Yeah.
So the Marlins are down to their final out. Brian Anderson has not been retired tonight. He's been hit by a pitch, singled twice, and walked. And a first pitch slider off the plate for ball 1.
You know, Gary, I talked how much the Marlins bullpen has been used, and they've been struggling. You talked about how much the Mets bullpen has been used, and they're doing great. Well, that's how the game is designed now. You don't ever have that guy who gives you the complete game once a week.
Ground ball towards short. Rosario's got it. And the ball game is over. And for the first time in their history, the Mets have won 9 of their first 10. For the first time in their history, they've won their first 5 road games of the year. Familia nails it down. The Mets come from behind. 2 home runs in the 8th, a Cespedes 2-run double in the 9th. And the Mets keep it rolling as they beat the Marlins 8-6.
You know, the handshakes, there's no histrionics, very humble. This ball club that plays for Mickey Callaway, he now goes down in history with the best start by a Mets club. So much in this game. A 3-0 home run by Asdrubal Cabrera, the tough, gritty pitching of DeGrom, but it's the bullpen again that gets the job done.
Mickey Callaway is only the 3rd manager in the history of baseball to start his managerial career 9-1 or better. Joe Morgan did it with the Red Sox when he took over for John McNamara. Pat Moran did it back for the 1915 Phillies. And now Mickey Callaway 9-1.